Hey everyone, thanks for being here today for our second read through of the Book of Enoch. Not read through, not reading it all in one shot, but reading through Enoch one piece by piece. So last stream, we kind of just talked a little bit about it and then read chapter one. So today we're going to continue. I'm thinking chapters 2 through 5 because 2, 3, and 4 are pretty short, and then 5 is longer. So I think that'll be a good length video. And, just a reminder of the perspective I'm coming from. I come from the perspective that Enoch is not scripture, but is instead like a historical document, historical reference. That in Jesus's time, like when the writers of the New Testament looked at Enoch as a historical book, a historical document. Like it's even referenced in Jude, the end of Enoch chapter 1. So I'm just going to read through it. More of a read through. I'm not presenting any commentary because I'm still learning this and dissecting it myself. And as always, I have this on hand nearby. So if anyone wants to look into, further into this is Dr. Michael Heiser's Companion to the Book of Enoch. So I am reading the R.H. Charles translation, which there's a link in the description if you'd like to follow along, and then there's also some affiliate links in there if you'd like to support the channel through those links. So I am gonna just straight up read it, and then we'll go back and forth in the live chat comments later. And thank you guys for being here in the live. Ada is here, I see, and Mango Junkie, oi oi. So hey there. So all right, let's get to reading, and I'll see you guys in the live chat later. So let me pull up my translation I have right here on the computer. Again, this is nothing formal, just a little casual because I wanted to read this, and I'm like, all right, why not read through it together? Since a lot of us have interest. If you are a viewer of High Strangeness, you will know that we discuss Book of Enoch a lot in the context of Genesis chapter 6. So continuing onward, Enoch chapter 2. Observe ye everything that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in the heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it from first to last, how steadfast they are, how none of the things upon earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. Behold the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds and dew and rain lie upon it. Chapter 2. Observe and see how in the winter all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 to 3 years till the new comes. Chapter 4. And again, observe ye the days of summer, how the sun is above the earth over against it, and you seek shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun. And the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. Chapter 5. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit. Wherefore give ye heed, and know with regard to all his works, and recognize how he that liveth forever hath made them so. And all his works go on, thus from year to year forever, and all the task which they accomplish for him, and their task change not, but according as God hath ordained, so is it done. And behold how the sea and the rivers in like manner accomplish and change not their task from his commandments. But ye have not been steadfast, nor done the commandments of the Lord, but ye have turned away and spoken proud and hard words with your impure mouths against his greatness. O ye hard-hearted, ye shall find no peace. Therefore shall ye execrate your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal execration, and ye shall find no mercy. In those days ye shall make your names an external execration unto all the righteous, and by you shall all who curse, and all the sinners and godless shall imprecate by you. And for you, the godless, there shall be a curse. And and then there's a ... shall rejoice. And there shall be forgiveness of sins, and every mercy and peace and forbearance. There shall be salvation unto them, a goodly light. And for all you sinners, there shall be no salvation, but on you all shall abide a curse. But for the elect, there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. And then there shall be bestowed upon the elect wisdom, and they shall all live and never sin again, either through ungodliness or through pride. But they who are wise shall be humble, and they shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of the divine anger or wrath, but they shall complete the number of the days of their life. And their lives shall be increased in peace, and the joy and the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life. Trying to think whether I should go forward or end it here, because now we're up to 5. Okay, you know what? Let's do another chapter. But I'm not going to be so good at these pronunciations. So none of this is rehearsed. I'm not reading ahead of time. This is my reaction as I'm reading. So forgive me if I stumble. And where I mentioned the ... first earlier, the ellipse, it wasn't used in a typical way. It's used in this context because I think the translation or the portion of that document is missing from what I've heard. Okay, so chapter 6. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heavens, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Semjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swear they all together, and bound themselves by multiple imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. I'm probably going to butcher this, guys, but Semiazaz, their leader, Arakiba, Ramil, Kokabil, Tamil, Ramil, Dinel, Ezequiel, Barakwajal, Asael, Armoros, Batarel, Ananel, Zaquil, Samsapil, Saturel, Turel, Jomjael, Sariel. These are their chiefs of 10. Chapter 7. And all the others took unto themselves wives. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men can no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Okay, wow. And then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. So, you'll leave it there. Okay. Interesting, because we have in Genesis chapter 6 where it talks about it talks about the fall from heaven and them coming together with human women and begetting the Nephilim. So we kind of get a little taste of that in Genesis 6. So now in this this chapter in Enoch, what was that? Enoch 6? 1 Enoch chapter 6, just like Genesis 6, it's giving us a little explanation there, but it's going further into detail. So more so like as a historical document. And I think it's interesting because in Genesis it was kind of vague, it was just generalized, but then when you go into Enoch, I guess with the use of it as a historical document, then you're getting really the specifics of it, that yes, the fallen angels, it was the fallen angels, because in the Bible, some biblical scholars debate, well, who was it that, that laid with the women and beget the Nephilim, and maybe Nephilim means something else. But then when we, reference it against this document, then it seems like it's pretty clear what's happening here. So it's very interesting. And it's very interesting because in this chapter and then the chapters coming after that, we see that it starts talking about what these fallen angels taught mankind, that not all these skills that we have as humans came, and were learned from other humans. Apparently they were taught, they were fallen angel technology and skills that were taught to us. So very, very interesting. So let's see who's in the stream. Because I want to stop it there because now we start getting into and I feel like it needs its own stream where we start talking about all the different skills and different things that were taught by the fallen angels. But very interesting. I'm very intrigued by this. Let's see who's in the chat. We have Mr. Okel left another stream for this one because you're loyal. I thank you. Thank you for that loyalty, Mr. Okel. I appreciate that. Torin, hey, how's it going? And he's saying hey to all the Hexicans in the chat. Bearded Saint, we got Hexican X. We have, oh yes, Mango Junkie. Thank you for being here early. Saw you earlier. Okay, so you guys did want me to keep going. Cool, and I did. I just think I want to end it now before we get into the skills. We'll leave that, so now we had Enoch 1 getting set up, talking about God and the people and very poetic. And then you hit the chapter 6, just like, when you hit Genesis chapter 6, and here it's talking about the fallen angels coming to Mount Hermon. And then now after this, which will be in our next stream, then we're going to start to see some of the skills that were given to humans. I'm very intrigued about the part where it's like, wow, a lot of our roots and plants, does that mean plant medicine or just herbal type stuff, or just in general knowledge of the plants were taught by fallen angels, or certain aspects of it? I find that very intriguing. Hex Glenn, hey, and I see Insidious Tomas coming by with an alien. Mr. Okel, I was wondering that too, how tall 300 L's is. Let's see if there's a reference. Hey Drix, let's see. How tall is 300 L's? Okay, there. L's to feet converter. So an L is usually 45 inches from the length of a bent arm from the elbow to the tip of the extended finger, which is kind of like a cubit, right? Isn't a cubit similar to? So it says that, it's saying 1 foot though? Okay, well, let's type it in. So 300 L's to feet. Okay, so this is a converter of 300 L's to feet, and it's saying 300 L's is 1,125 feet. Interesting. But it says, okay, here's another article about it. How tall were the pre-flood giants really? And it's saying that it's a myth that they were that tall. And you know what? Interesting. Okay. So apparently there's a lot of debate about it. They debate that translation. They debate, whether, I don't know, giants were actually that tall, but the thing is that these are pre-flood giants. So a lot of this evidence is buried, really buried, from all the mud and everything that got washed around during the flood. So we're not going to see evidence of it, but I look at it like, Devil's Tower. Clearly a tree, and it was massive. And we see a lot of evidence of massive flora and fauna. And even if you look at the dinosaurs, they're giant reptiles. So when you see the scale of these things, well, you're like, well, why couldn't giants be 100 feet tall or whatever it may be? So, okay, that's kind of debated, but regardless, they were big, especially the pre-flood giants. When you get post-flood, you see a lot of variation. You see them smaller. You see them like Goliath, who is probably like 9 feet. But it's something else that was very interesting was like they talked about like I guess mankind or them kind of using mankind's resources. And when man couldn't support them anymore, they started eating people. And when you think about like all the different myths of giants, um, or even, yeah, even like fairy tales, fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Wasn't that giant in the sky going to eat the kid, right? Jack. So, like, always throughout history, through all these stories, there's always talk of giants eating people. So, and a lot of times these myths, they had to have come from somewhere, or they're steeped in fact somewhat. So you look at these stories, you're like, oh, okay, because in the Book of Enoch, it legit is out just laying it out there and saying, yep, giants did eat people. When mankind couldn't support them with their resources, they were eating people, which is interesting because talk about mankind supporting giants with their resources. Those giants in Kandahar, the reason why the cave that these giants were in got military attention is because the locals were bringing food and stuff to the giants. So trying to appease them and bringing them there. So, you know, our military goes in thinking, oh, look, they're feeding the Taliban in that cave, or Taliban, however you want to say it. Taliban. I said it like George Bush before. You know, they're feeding them. Military went in, found out, oh, no, it wasn't that. They were appeasing a modern day giant. Some of them ended up dead. And then we have that whole giant, red-headed giant of Kandahar story. So, Naeem, thank you for being here. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the live, so thank you. And thank you to everybody watching in the replay also. What, I don't know what yes is. I don't know what you're referring to. Have you seen the painting of the giant eating his son? It's gruesome, but reminded me of that. Yes, and it's, I think, isn't that supposedly like that is supposed to be like an artwork or a vision of hell, right? That giant eating his son. But then when I started thinking about the giants lately, I actually did think about that. And I'm like, wait, maybe that's actually just legit. I mean, maybe that's actually something here that happened on this earth, unless I'm confusing it with another picture. But I'm like, yeah, it might. Yeah. So interesting. It's always interesting. Like, so when you look at art, when you look at TV, when you look at movies, books, anything, a lot of times, you know, these are reflecting some sort of like these ideas didn't come out of nowhere. A lot of times these ideas are pulled from history, even something as far-fetched as a giant, or, you know, like the Greek gods and goddesses, the Titans. These were fallen angels or their offspring, the Nephilim. Very interesting. I think it's interesting. Okay, it was Saturn devouring his son. Gotcha. Thank you. And okay, it's supposed to be interesting. So now we're coming back to gods and goddesses again. And what are the gods and goddesses besides these fallen angels? It's believed that actually the gods and goddesses are actually the fallen angels, the watchers, and not the Nephilim. The Nephilim would be the offspring that was mixed with humans, but because there's a lot of similarities between certain demons, certain deities, certain, you know, people started noticing a pattern. Also, if you look throughout the history of the world and throughout like the Middle East and then into Europe, you have these places a long time ago that are so far from each other, but yet they have very similar myths in terms of the gods and goddesses. And you look at it and you're like, there has to be something to it. And I was reading Zachariah Stinchin's book, The 13th Planet, which was gifted to me by Bobby Haxelrod. Thank you, Bobby. And, you know, like when I was reading it, and it was so fascinating when they were laying out, I can't speak tonight, laying out these stories of these, of the gods and goddesses, and how they were connected. And it was really intriguing. But, you know, Zachariah Stitchin, he's like, no, it's because they were all aliens. They were all aliens. And I'm like, I don't buy it. There's got to be more to it than just aliens. And then when you put it into the Book of Enoch lens, you're like, oh, okay. The fallen angels clearly, when they fell to earth, wanted to be worshipped and portray themselves as something more than what they are. So how easy would it be to fool humans and pose as gods? There you go. Oh, okay. Oh, Ada, yes, you're talking about the Jack and the Beanstalk stalk story. Yeah, right? So he wanted to be eaten. Yeah, so apparently it was that was a legit thing from the giants. They were eating people, and giants were this fearsome thing. So that's why you constantly see that narrative throughout stories. And that was like one of the mind-blowing things that happened to me. Like, oh, all these stories, these gods and goddesses things, these fairy tales, they are all real to a certain extent. That was mind blowing. I'm like, oh, but it's just different than what we were told. It had a different explanation. It was this Genesis 6, Enoch 1 um, thing happening. Oh, and the Mount Hermon thing is so fascinating. I saw a really cool sweatshirt that looks like, like one of those travel sweatshirts for like the Pacific Northwest, but instead, there's a mountain and it says Mount Hermon and then it has a little UFO on it. It was so great. Hey, Clintrons, thank you for joining us from all the way the other side of the world. Mr. Okel, yes, Renaissance artists were all about heaven and hell and everything in between. Love the Renaissance art. The Pieta is my favorite sculpture ever by Michelangelo. Absolutely gorgeous. Let me tell you, man, that Renaissance art, I don't know what the heck was going on in the Renaissance, but yeah, they were fascinated with all this. They were digging into it. They were exploring. And it makes me wonder how much we know that our history narrative has been false, that it's been, warped, that it's been hidden from us. I'm like, how much did they know back then? Did they know a little more and that's why they're more fascinated? Or was this the beginning of it starting to be hidden? But, or is Renaissance art not really from the Renaissance, but is it something Tartarian? Is it related to Tartaria? Because once you start thinking about Tartaria, and the fact that all those structures, in the time spans they were built, in the period of time they were built, it doesn't make sense that, if you look at Notre Dame and the period of time it was supposed to be built in and how long it took to build it, and you're like, we can hardly put something together nowadays with our tech in it still takes us a couple years to build something that's not even as intricate as these other places, and we're supposed to believe that these other civilizations built it. And some people want to say that Tartaria is a cop out, but I don't know. Apparently Earth has been through many great resets, so how do we know that amazing civilization and their technology wasn't responsible for all that, and yet we're lied to and told something else? I think there's some sort of salt palace on the Salt Lake that looks like it was some sort of giant electrical generation facility working off of the salt water and the properties of salt water. I don't know, using it like a battery or whatever it may be. And we're supposed to believe that it was built in the 1800s. But, these spires don't look to be just like an architectural thing. They look like a technological thing. So I would highly encourage digging into Tartaria. I butchered Pieta? Okay. Pieta? Is that it? The Pieta? The Pieta. There we go. Is that it? I butchered. Did I say it right now? I know. It's terrible. Hey, Doug. Thanks for popping in. Hope Alaska in the darkness is treating you well. Hope you're being all cozy. Michelangelo means he who resembles God in Messenger. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. No, I still can't say it. Well, I'm gonna have to look it up, So it's what they say. It's like that thing they say that people that read things but have never heard them said out loud. And then we end up butchering things. So Michelangelo means he who resembles God in Messenger. So I wonder, was this his name he was born with, or is this something he adopted because he was so fascinated with God and religious art and faith type things? But if not, then it was very appropriate the name he was named. T-Bird says, look into Jake and Brashears at Archaics. Stuff he talks about makes most sense to me based on his historical record. Good to see you, Ash. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We actually talked a little bit about Archaics on Saturday. Because, I've looked into some of the stuff. I don't know. He just rubs me the wrong way. Some people, maybe it's their delivery. I just can't. I can't get into it. But I appreciate it. But you know what? He put some interesting resources down there. I've downloaded some of them. But so, okay, yeah, just making sure I'm on the same page. Because I'm like, so I guess, because I always call him Archaics, but I guess his name is Jason Brashears. Yeah, Tartaria. I'm telling you, once this stream is over, go look it up. You're gonna have your mind blown. Didn't know you researched Tartaria. I thought it had to do with flat Earth mostly and mud floods. I mean, I feel like there's a ton of different angles people are coming at Tartaria with. Some people believe that the millennial reign of Christ already happened from the second coming, and that was and the civilization that lived under that 1,000 year reign, the millennial reign, was this perfect, beautiful civilization called Tartaria. There's some people who come from that perspective. Then there's other people that come from the perspective of it's just a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed in a great reset. Some people say it was destroyed in a mud flood. I'm not sure the flat earth connection, but I see that there's like a ton of different ways people are coming at it. But just check it out, because like you will see where people point out specific architectural structures and are like, you know what? Not possible. And here's this interesting evidence. And this actually looks like this. Like I saw a really interesting way. Somebody was breaking down fireplaces, and they're like, fireplaces are a very inefficient way to heat a house compared to other heating methods. So they're like these, big old buildings that have these massive fireplaces. They're not that energy. It's not the best use of energy. I mean, even for that time period. I mean, what else would they've used? I don't know. So when you start looking up fireplaces, they believe that like some of these, massive fireplaces in the old buildings were not necessarily made to burn wood, but instead were some sort of old technology that was able to heat a room, and it was something else, and that there was more to it. I'm not describing it well, but like these are the type of rabbit holes, or duck holes, should I say, that you find when you look up Tartaria. Have I seen any of John Levy's videos? I don't think I have. Wait, is that the, here, let me look. If that's the same guy is that the Tartaria guy? John Levy. Yes, maybe that was some of the videos that I'm watching. Yes. Yeah, I have. Interesting videos. Very bland narration, but great. I mean, but that's his style. That's his shtick. But really wonderful information. Oh, okay, so you are all over that. Okay. You heard about it from the David Weiss app. Yeah, like I've never heard the connection to flat Earth with it. So I don't know. I just randomly stumbled across it on YouTube one day, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah. So I'm probably going to end it here. We're at 27 minutes, maybe at the half-hour mark, a couple more minutes. Just a short stream for today, but plan to do more of it. It's kind of fun to just walk through this together and kind of break it down a little bit. I'm not doing any deep type of breaking down because, like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this yet. I got the companion to it, but I just like, I don't know. Still figuring it out. I don't know. Just learning, just being open to whatever. Okay, sounds like what I was describing. Yeah, I think those are the videos. I think that was my first exposure to it. And then I've seen other like other interesting accounts like Aussie Mud Flood. The Australian stuff is pretty interesting too. Like how they show like, how is it possible for the type of architecture on Australia to be so matched to things in Europe, besides the fact, the European influence in the colonization. They think that there's something different at play. Oh, yes, I do have that app. I have that. Just to check it out. It was interesting. I'll leave it at that. You guys know how I feel. So yeah. Okay. So I think I'll end it here. I'll see you guys this week. I don't know what day I'm doing High Strangeness because it's Christmas Eve, so I'm not going to be live streaming on Christmas Eve, but I will be doing something during the week. Just have not figured out when and what yet. So that's still up in the air. But I will announce it on Twitter. And I will try to get better at using my community page, and I will make an announcement there on YouTube for anybody that does not have Twitter. Yes, Ada, exactly. Not so open-minded, your brain falls out. Yeah, it's good to be open-minded and explore different things, but not too much. I still like to use discernment, and I still like to just approach things carefully. So that's the same thing with Enoch. I'm curious, I'm interested, but I'm keeping an open mind, but I'm still approaching it cautiously. I'm not all gung-ho on it yet. Not that I think anything bad. I mean, again, I'm approaching it as a historical document. Oh, thank you. Well, Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Hexmas to all the Hexicans. Merry Christmas to you guys too. Anyone who celebrates. Oh, we're in the second night of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah to anybody celebrating. I walked by a really cool little Hanukkah event yesterday. And it's cool because I guess it's the region I live in. I didn't realize that that wasn't all over the country, that's just certain cities. So yeah, happy Hanukkah to anyone who celebrates. Merry Christmas to anyone who celebrates, and safe travels to anybody who's traveling this week. And I will be back for High Strangeness, and I haven't decided the Book of Enoch whether it's always going to be Monday thing or whether I'll just hop in wherever. So we'll see where it goes. But thank you guys for being here. Oh, Mr. Okel, I'm glad you think they're fun. Yeah, so thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone watching in the replay. Again, in the description, I have a link to the free translation that I'm using, the R.H. Charles translation. And it's cool because there's an intro that explains it a bit. There's also Amazon links to what's it called? To physical copies of things, to the Michael Heiser book. And if you scroll further down, there's more affiliate links. And I'm sorry to push the affiliate links so far, but I figure if you're shopping on Amazon, if you're doing Christmas shopping or whatever, you don't even need to buy anything in the link. You just got to click through the link and then finish your order of, I don't know, tuna fish, whatever you're buying. And then, and it sends me a little commission. So I just thought it was an easy way to support things here. As always, would love your like, your subscribe, your comment. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching in the replay. And I hope you all have a good night. All right. Bye.